Jesus launches his teaching ministry with what Matthew calls the Sermon on the Mount. You could say that it is Jesus' manifesto on what life in the kingdom of heaven looks like. But like most of the Bible, how to understand Jesus' words is not always clear. Hundreds of years before Jesus stood on that mountain, the prophet Moses stood on Mount Sinai and gave the people of Israel God's law. During the first 4 chapters of Matthew, the author has the life of Jesus mimic the history of Israel. So much like Pharaoh killed every baby boy to limit Israel's population from growing, King Herod, in a fit of jealous rage, kills all the infant boys in hopes of eliminating the one the Magi called the King of the Jews. Just like Israel originally went to Egypt to seek refuge from a life-threatening famine, Jesus' family goes to Egypt to seek safety from the life-threatening Herod. While Israel crossed the Red Sea before spending 40 years in the wilderness, Jesus went to the River Jordan for baptism before spending 40 days in the wilderness. So when Jesus gets up on a mountain and begins to teach, it's hard not to be thinking of Moses delivering God's law on Mount Sinai. The question is, would the people hear Jesus as intended? This question links back to last week's episode on teaching to obey. Is Jesus telling us what to do, or is Jesus inviting us to sit and observe reality from a different perspective? Does Jesus reframe the law, or does he invite us to embrace Israel's wisdom tradition? How should we read the Sermon on the Mount? Here, I think the poem Pretty Ugly offers a helpful illustration on missing the point because we don't start from the right place. The poet writes, "I am very ugly, so don't try to convince me that I am a very beautiful person. Because at the end of the day, I hate myself in every single way. And I'm not going to lie to myself by saying, there is beauty inside me that matters. So rest assured, I will remind myself that I am a worthless, terrible person. And nothing you say will make me believe I still deserve love. Because no matter what, I am not a good enough person to be loved. And I am in no position to believe that beauty does not exist within me. Because whenever I look in the mirror, I always think, am I as ugly as people say?" After a line break, the poet then suggests reading from the bottom up. When that happens, everything changes. Am I as ugly as people say? Because whenever I look in the mirror, I always think, beauty does exist within me. And I am in no position to believe that I am not good enough to be loved. Because no matter what, I still deserve love. And nothing you say will make me believe that I am a worthless, terrible person. So rest assured, I will remind myself there is beauty inside of me that matters. And I am not going to lie to myself by saying I hate myself in every single way, because at the end of the day, I am a very beautiful person. So don't try to convince me that I'm very ugly. Now, I'm not suggesting we read Jesus' words backwards, or even worse, listen to tapes of the Gospels backwards as we try and find hidden subliminal messages so that we can understand what Jesus really said. But I am suggesting that reading his words and understanding them are not necessarily the same thing. A number of years ago, my then wife came home from work shortly after we'd gotten married. We'd just moved into a condo in downtown Denver, and most of our stuff was still in boxes. I didn't have to work that day, and rather than spending the day cleaning the house and unpacking, I spent most of it dinking around on the computer. Understandably, she wasn't happy with me, and she let me know it. While I heard the words she said, I completely misunderstood her heart. What I heard is that I failed to do the right thing. I got frustrated because I didn't know what she wanted done, let alone how she wanted it done. If she'd given me a list or some directions, I would have happily complied because I wanted her to be happy with me. But my failure to do stuff wasn't the source of her frustration. She didn't want to see a completed checklist when she got home. Words like compliance caused her blood to boil, because what she wanted was to know that I was committed to the process of making this home a house, a home for us to share. Making this house a home for us to share. She wanted to know that we were a team and to see my actions reinforce my profession, that I would work in partnership with her to make things happen. I think we often do something similar with the Sermon on the Mount. We seek out checklists of things to do to make Jesus happy. But what he really is inviting us into is a relationship. Perhaps nowhere is this idea more clear than where Jesus starts, what we know today as the Beatitudes.